Today, we're getting into a really powerful theory that might just explain why so much of our culture, well, why it all kind of feels the same sometimes. We're talking about Theodor Adorno's idea of the culture industry. You know that feeling, right? You turn on the radio, and the new hit song just sounds weirdly like last month's big hit. Or you're settling in for a movie, and the plot feels like something you've seen a dozen times before. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not imagining things. So yeah, this feeling of being stuck in a culture on repeat loop isn't just in your head. It's a real phenomenon, and it actually has a surprisingly long history. And check this out, this isn't some new complaint from the internet age. That line right there, it was written all the way back in 1944. Two German philosophers, Theodor Adorno and Max Horkheimer, saw this trend happening way back with the rise of radio in Hollywood. So that feeling of cultural déjà vu you get, it actually has a name. Adorno and Horkheimer called it the culture industry, and in their view, this wasn't just some weird coincidence. It was a deliberate system. All right, so let's get into their main idea here, which is a pretty powerful metaphor, the idea that our culture isn't some organic thing that just grows, but that it's made in something like a factory. And here's the official breakdown. The culture industry is basically a system that churns out cultural goods, movies, songs, you name it, on an assembly line. But here's the crucial part. It's not just about making a profit. The real goal, they argued, is to manipulate us, to keep us passive and satisfied with the way things are. And here he is, the man himself, Theodor Adorno. He and his partner in crime, Max Horkheimer, were key figures in a group of thinkers called the Frankfurt School. And they developed this whole idea while they were in exile in California during the 1940s, right in the heart of Hollywood. Now, Adorno was really clear on this next point. This is not mass culture that just bubbles up from the people. Nope. He said it's imposed on us from the top down. We, the audience, we're not the ones driving what gets made. We're the object that the industry manages. The whole goal is to just reinforce what we already think and feel. In this model, the customer is definitely not king. Okay, so if it's a factory, what's actually happening on the assembly line? How do you mass produce a hit? Well, Adorno believed there was a pretty clear formula. It all really comes down to these two big concepts. First, standardization, making everything follow a predictable pattern. And second, commodification, which is a fancy way of saying every single piece of art gets turned into a product designed first and foremost to be bought and sold. And this just lays out the difference perfectly. On one hand, you have what Adorno called serious art. It's creative, it's complex, and every little detail is there for a reason, to serve the meaning of the whole piece. But then you have the culture industry product. Its values, standardization, and predictability. The details are just cliches. You can swap in and out. The predictable plot twist, the catchy chorus, all just serving the formula. Adorno was especially tough on popular music. He basically laid out this toolkit for how to make a standardized hit. You've got your rigid formulas like a 32-bar pop chorus, you have a super limited set of themes you hear over and over, and you have these interchangeable musical tricks. The end goal, as he put it, was to make absolutely sure that nothing fundamentally novel will be introduced. And this really gets to the core of that second idea, commodification. A movie isn't just a work of art that also happens to be sold. According to this theory, it is a commodity through and through. Its entire reason for existing, from start to finish, is simply to be a product on the market. Okay, so we've seen how the factory makes its stuff, but what about us? What's the effect on the people consuming it all? This is where the theory gets really interesting, because Adorno argued that our entertainment has basically become another form of work. So let's just ask it directly. What does consuming this constant stream of standardized culture actually do to our brains? How does it shape the way we spend our free time? Now, this is one of Adorno's most famous and honestly kind of chilling lines. What does he mean, it hears for the listener? Well, he means the music does all the emotional work for you. It signals exactly when to be happy, when to be sad, leaving very little room for you to have your own genuine thoughts or feelings about it. And here's how that process works, step by step. First, all the content is pre-digested for you. It's made super easy so you don't have to work at it. Naturally, this discourages you from thinking critically. Over time, this trains you to have conditioned reflexes. You laugh when the sitcom laugh track tells you to, you feel sad when the dramatic music swells, and the end result? It holds us all back from becoming truly independent, autonomous individuals who can think for ourselves. So, here's the huge paradox at the heart of it all. We turn to entertainment to escape the grind of our jobs, right? But what we often get is just more of the same. The repetitive, standardized nature of the culture factory just mirrors the assembly line. Our free time becomes what Adorno called a prolongation of work. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's all interesting, but Adorno wrote this almost 80 years ago. So the big question is, does any of this actually hold up today in our world of streaming, TikTok, and AI? Well, let's just look at the evidence, right? What about streaming algorithms that are literally designed to feed you more of what you already like? Or the super successful, but let's be honest, pretty predictable formulas for cinematic universes? Adorno himself talked about pop stars becoming interchangeable brands, a pattern you could argue continues right on from Madonna to Lady Gaga. And is there anything more standardized than a viral social media trend? Because for Adorno, the ultimate goal here wasn't just about profit. It was ideological. It was about teaching us all to conform. He said the culture industry issues a kind of command, a dark twist on a famous philosophical idea. And that command is this: you shall conform. Conform to that which exists anyway. Basically, it's telling us to just accept the way things are, to fit in without ever asking why we're fitting in or what it is we're conforming to. And that brings us to the one final question that really cuts to the heart of this entire theory. Is the culture we consume simply a product of what we all want? Or have our desires themselves been shaped by the products the culture industry has been feeding us all along? It's something to think about the next time you press play.